So I'm trying something new again, right? It didn't work out last week. You know what? Let me start out with my intro. Shalom, Seminary Covi here, and welcome to, this is actually like my 9th week in my journey to a theological PhD. And there was some issues last week. I actually recorded my vlog and I wanted to upload it, but I tried something new. Being that Google Meet's recording was looking a little bit sketchy, and I didn't like it. I didn't like what Google Meets was doing. So I thought that maybe the next best thing would be to record on StreamYard, because they can do local streaming or local recording. Record on StreamYard, and then maybe I can upload that. But that looked even more worse. Even more worse? That's not proper. That looked even worser. It looked bad, okay? It looked bad. It looked worse than Google Meet. So I have it. It's in storage, digital storage, and it looked so bad that I didn't even want to release it. I was like, for what, man? This is terrible. So here I am. I am trying it a whole new way. I'm doing it exactly the same way I do my videos, and I don't know if that'll be good or whatever, but I'm just going to do it this way because at least it doesn't look bad. I may look bad, but the video doesn't. So I'm going to do this, and I'm just going to recap what happened last week, what's going on at work, what's going on at church, and what happened this week. So last week, like I said, there was no school. It was reading days, right? And we were supposed to use that time to catch up on readings, but I didn't need to catch up. I was already caught up. But looking back now, I didn't say this in my last video because I didn't know that. But looking back now, I really wish I would have read to get ahead, because now I am on the same schedule that I had been for the entirety of the semester, which is right on task, which is good, but kind of stressful. You know what I mean? I should have just did some more reading. Instead, I'm right where I've been, what I've been doing, which is okay because for my Luther seminar, Dr. Bingham, he wants us to read for that week anyways. But I'm proposing this coming Tuesday, and I think I should have just read the readings beforehand to get a better idea. However, God was with me and is with me. Usually we have to read like a 400-page book or something like that with all these articles. This week we're reading Luther's Basic Theological Writings, and in it there's just a number of different original works of Luther, and I counted all these up, and no lie, it's not even 100 pages. I'm looking at on my board here, and the 95 Theses is like 5 pages. The preface to Romans is not even 10 pages. Lecture on Galatians is like 8 pages. There's like 10 of those things that I got to do, but they're all very short, so I can knock that out quick. So I'm happy with that, because in addition to just reading this, I have to put together a 5-page paper with guidelines and 5 to 7 questions in order to facilitate the seminar for this week. And I'm pretty excited about it. I've seen how everybody else does it, and I want to do good, and I think I'll do good. But we'll see. In Luther seminar, man, this was gnarly. Again, this is something else that I didn't get to say last week because there was no school. I'll stop saying that now. Y'all know I didn't have class last week, so I can stop with that. But what happened this week? Man, it was crazy. So Dr. Bingham, he woke up and chose violence. He chose violence. What he said was, okay, so the only downfall to this is I can't share my screen. If it's very important, I think I'll put it up on like a little image, like right here, something like that. But if it's not too important, I won't put it. But anyways, Dr. Bingham starts class. He said, a question for theologians. He says, is the divine nature a nature that is free to do whatever it wishes, whether good or evil? And is that main property of divine nature freedom? Or is there a collection of attributes that determine what God must or can do? Then he says, let me simplify it. And he says this, is the divine nature merely free to do as it pleases? Or maybe if I put it over here, I won't look so weird. Maybe I can't read it over here. I can't read over here. Okay, I'm just going to look weird. Start again. Is the divine nature merely free to do as it pleases? Or is the divine nature composed of necessary attributes other than freedom? Basically, the way I explained this to Amanda is, can God lie? Right? Can God lie? All that to simply say something like, can God lie? Can God do something that we think is contrary to God's nature? Now, the way I described this to friends, it was amazing to see. It really was. But the way I described this to friends was like, you know, when you watch those kung fu movies or those boxing movies or even YouTube videos when like someone comes in and challenges the gym leader, and the gym leader like sets down all his class or he sits them all down and he's like, all right, me and him, and he fights them and he whoops on them. Or like those when there's like a rebellion in the class and all the students think they're better than the teacher, so he fights them all one by one, and one by one just dismantles them. That's what I was thinking whenever this was going down, because this is a question for the students. So in a room full of doctoral students, they each proceed to give an answer. Right away, I knew I'm out of my element. So I kind of just kicked back and I'm like, not this time. Not this time. I don't know enough. But everybody else is giving their answer. And everybody else is... Their answer, while I thought they were great, there was some that were really, really good. They just weren't satisfactory. Dr. Bingham said you must provide historical data, you must provide contemporary data, and you must provide biblical data by which you can base your claims. And people were giving references and citations, but he was showing, well, if you view it that way, you're in danger of doing this. And if you look at it that way, that's heresy. There was this one guy who gave a solid answer, and even Dr. Bingham, you can tell, he was like, that's a good answer. But he didn't reference anything, so he was like, from where are you drawing these sources? Can you cite your he talked very slow, that's why I talk slow. Can you cite your reference? And the student he had to piece all this together and in his mind. So he came up with an answer real quick. He was like, from my years of study at Southwestern. And I thought it was a good answer, but it's not exactly what he wanted. But anyways, the whole class gave an answer and he shut them all down. And after explaining all these deep theological doctrines of God and divine attributes, he ends with, God's this, God's that. Oh, well, and continues like it's nothing. And in my mind, I text a man and I'm like, dude, how could I ever be that smart? Dude was super smart. I was amazed. I really was. But he said something. He was like, this was a question posed to me by I'm guessing it was an introductory class. And he was like, this is Theology 101. If I am on your board for comps, I'm going to ask you questions like this. So I recommend you find a 1-volume systematic theology book and read it. Not Grudem, because I've asked everybody everybody that I know who's a doctor in theology in one way or another, and all of them across the board, regardless of where their theology truly falls, they're like, don't use Grudem. And this is interesting for those of y'all who are going to seminary, thinking about seminary or in Bible college, regardless, if you just teach this or whatever, everybody, I don't want to say everybody, but you know what I mean, right? I'll say colloquially everybody, meaning a lot of people. A lot of people use Wayne Grudem's systematic theology, and the reason they use it to teach is because it's super simple, super understandable. It doesn't have too much, and it reads almost like a narrative, so a lot of people use it. But when you get to the teaching level, those that teach you from Wayne Grudem are probably not utilizing it themselves. You know what I mean? They're giving you a simplified systematic theology. There was not one person that I asked who said use Wayne Grudem's systematic theology. It's just too basic, too many holes, things wrong with it. But whatever. If you use it now, it's probably good for you because you're probably not in Bible college or seminary. But if you are in seminary, if you plan on furthering your education or doing more than the bare minimum, probably more than Grudem. I've gone through Grudem. And now where I'm at, I can look back and be like, oh yeah. But I asked a bunch of people, what are some good systematic theologies? And I got a list. And probably after my seminars end, I'm going to go through them because I really did not have a good understanding on the attributes of God in a way that I could express it, validate it, and cite my sources. So I got to do that. So then we get to Trinity on Thursday, which was really cool. And I got to show this picture in a little bit. I'll post it up here. But it was a surprise, though. It was a surprise. You know how I told you about my prospectus? Oh, okay. So I read my prospectus in my other video. And since I got to do this, I'll read it again. I'll read it again if I can find it real quick. Writing sample, pics, books, articles in my books and articles. But until then, I'll keep talking. So what happened? In our theology class, we were just supposed to show up and there was I thought we were going to go over our readings, right? And our reading was Simply Trinity by Matthew Barrett. I thought we were just going to go over that and it was going to be just like any other week, no problem. But it wasn't. He started class and the first thing he says is, okay, we're going to go over and present our prospectus. Prospecti, plural. And so everybody was like, "Oh man, I didn't expect this." I was at work. You know, that's where I go to class. So I had my PDF here on my at-home computer. The only prospectus I have here at home is a draft. So I just read my draft, and but it was good since I had read it for the video that I'm not putting out. I had an understanding, and I can work through it well without bumbling and stumbling and stuff. So it went really well. Dr. Yarnell was he was like, "Wow, y'all are picking really fascinating topics, and I can't wait to read the whole paper." I got it's a 2 out of 2. I guess you could say I got 100 on it, but I read it last time. Should I read it this time? I don't know if I'm going to read it this time. I'll summarize it. This is my thesis. The title and the thesis. Rabbi Akiva as a symbol of rabbinic resistance to divine plurality and its role in shaping Christian articulation of the Trinity. And the thesis is that it's an investigation on how the rabbinic figure, Rabbi Akiva, functions not merely as a historical teacher, but as a symbolic locus of resistance to divine plurality in early Judaism, and how that resistance indirectly shaped Christian articulation of Trinitarian doctrine. Basically, early Judaism believed in what's called two powers in heaven. You may have heard about this if you're into Dr. Heiser. He references this and Alan Siegel's book. My thumbnail on my YouTube, that's actually me reading the Alan Siegel's dissertation at the Lanier Library in Houston. But I actually had the dissertation, so it was near and dear. So I was like, I can take this opportunity to write on it. Anyways, there's two powers in heaven, you know, and the way they view this is Yahweh rained down sulfur from Yahweh. There's two Yahwehs. Yahweh spoke to Moses from the burning bush, but he was also on the side of the bush. It seems like there's two different Yahwehs. What's going on? Jews reconciled this by saying, yeah, there's two kinds of Yahwehs. Well, when Christians came around and started talking about this Jesus guy as God, they were like, there's no way there can be two gods. And Christians were like, wait a minute, what about your two powers? So they got this. I think Rabbi Akiva is a school of thought, not a historical figure. And there's scholarship to back that. And that's one of the sections I'm utilizing in my writing. But they use Rabbi Akiva to be an authoritative voice to say, you know what, that two powers in heaven thing, we were wrong. It's now a heresy. So the Christians were used, the Christians indirectly caused the rabbis and the Jews to reformat their theology, and it crossed out the two powers and made it a heresy. Now, my question is, did that crossing out and making the two powers a heresy cause later fathers to adjust their wording, structure, and understanding of the Trinity? And that's what I'm getting into in a number of different ways. I have to go through and I have to construct Rabbi Akiva as a symbolic authority as opposed to a figure. I got to get into boundary formations, Jews, Christians, what they believe, the polemics, fighting against each other, and this two powers thing. Then I got to get into Christian exegesis and Trinitarian clarification, how they viewed or reinterpreted Daniel 7 Christologically, and then the comparative trajectory. Where's this going? What's it going to do? How it ultimately, I think, caused a shift or better articulation of the Trinity. And then I get into the mode and the methods and significance and what I'm going to have to do. But I thought it was good. I like being able to write on Jewish-Christian relations whenever I get the chance. I'm going to do that in my Luther class as well. I already told him my topic, but like I think I may have said, I don't even know anymore. But when reading a little bit, it seems that I'm not even going to be able to put my thesis into it. I would have to stretch. I don't want to stretch. I just want to be truthful to the data that I find. And the data is not agreeing with my initial thoughts. So I may have to switch it up a little bit, but we'll see. But yeah, so that's what's going on in class. Did the perspective. Oh, so what happened? So after we all presented our perspectives, we take our break, and the professor says, so after we come back from break, Matthew Barrett should be joining us. And I'm like, oh man, he was supposed to come last time, didn't come. But this time he joined us in class, and he was telling us about the modern state of evangelicalism and its ties to tradition, kind of why he became Anglican, and just how modern evangelicals need to go back to historic Christianity, historic orthodoxy, which I also agree. They need to get a Nicene understanding of the Trinity and what it teaches, and historic understanding of the nature of God, those divine attributes we were talking about, all that stuff. So I was super excited that he joined us in class, and I actually took a screenshot of the class with him in there so that I could show one of the professors that I work with. But it was pretty cool. I think it's super cool how Dr. Yarnell is bringing in all these theologians, and they're like theological rock stars. You know what I mean? It's cool to have them in class and be like, wow, I'm in the same room with them. You know, it's just very cool, and they're all humble guys. I had been part of a space for so long that I thought those with any smarts had some kind of an arrogance to them. And I have since realized, since being in this doctoral program, that those that are really smart are as humble as can be. And it's just super interesting. It's like this false bravado that those that really don't know present. So it's pretty cool. So what else? What else is going on? We'll go with church next. I won't say everything that happened, but it was pretty cool, man. I am really enjoying my time leading the youth or whatever. Last week actually 2 weeks ago, because it's Friday today, so not this Wednesday but the one before, it was Big Questions Day, right? Our first Big Questions Day. I want the kids to be able to ask me questions versus going online and getting answers from someone that may just be a mechanic, you know what I mean, or maybe a pastor that really doesn't, a YouTube pastor, we'll say that. Like, I don't want them to get answers from social media or the internet. I don't want anybody else to, at least that know me. So I would rather they ask me. And I gave them honest answers. That's just what, and not only that, I want to create a safe space. I don't want them to have to go to the internet to get answers. I want them to feel comfortable asking me. And they did, man. They asked some questions. I was like, holy moly. The first question that it was all anonymous. And then I opened them up and I'm answering. The first question, I was like, man, golly. Can we have some dinosaur questions, like, to start out? They came out swinging. And I was like, wow, it made me adjust what I'm teaching them. The week before, I think I taught them a story about Elisha and the 2 bears and the 42 kids and how that they were mauled, and it was funny, you know, go up Baldy, and that's why, and they all had a laugh, and I gave a little bit of a background to it to make it not just funny but interesting. That's where I thought they were at. But the questions that were asking me showed me that they were ready for a little something more. So this week was Theology Week. And last Theology Week, we talked about how we got the Bible. So I thought it would be cool this Theology Week to talk about why we use the 66. And the coolest thing about it was I came up with a game beforehand that sort of leads up into the lesson. I like to do that. And originally, this game started out as a GOAT debate. Who's the greatest basketball player? You know, is it Kobe Bryant because he had that like killer instinct? Is it LeBron James because you're alive today? I can't help but say it like that. LeBron James. Is it him because he's alive today? Is it because of his stats? Is it Will Chamberlain because of rings? Is it Jordan? You know what I mean? But I quickly realized that, you know, that class is mostly girls. I don't think everybody watches basketball. What does everybody like to do? And hit me quick. I was like, everybody likes to eat. So we had a council of the youth on the top eateries in the world. And I put a list of like 20. And the way it started was all the youth were in a big circle. And I told them, by yourselves, don't tell anybody, but for about 5 minutes, pick your top 5. You know, Taco Bell, Whataburger, McDonald's, Chili's, you know what I mean? I put Bodanet in there for us old timers. If you don't know what Bodanet is, I feel super bad for you. In and Out, in case there was some people not from Texas, all that stuff. Gave them about 5 minutes, and I said, okay, now we're going to split up into 3 groups of 4. And in your group, you got to come up with just 5. So of all of y'all, come up with 5. So they had to whittle it down. After that, I told them, okay, one person from each of your groups is going to be a spokesman. And they are going to be the council while the rest of us sit around and listen to them discuss what the top 3 should be. And they all 3 unanimously agreed on Taco Bell and Chick-fil-A. Like that, super simple. And then it was a split. 2 of them wanted Olive Garden and 1 of them wanted Chili's. And they could not settle. And I tried to make it like, you know, try to get the most restaurants on the board for your group and you'll win something. But they couldn't figure out that last one. So I sat them down and I went around and I just tallied. Chili's or Olive Garden, Chili's or Olive Garden, Chili's or Olive Garden, all the way around. And the one with the most won, which was Chili's. So the first council of youth in regards to eateries is Taco Bell, Chick-fil-A, and Chili's. I could not believe that Whataburger wasn't up there. I heard every group, Whataburger. But it turns out that everybody ate it so much that they were tired of it. So that's interesting. But what I wanted to show was how, yes, the Bible is the Word of God and it's this divine book and all that. But, it came together by humans, these councils fighting, arguing, this, that, third. And not everybody's is the same. I heard someone over there say Culver's. No one even knew what Culver's was. And I likened these to the books. I was like, these three, Chick-fil-A, Taco Bell, and Chili's, Matthew, Mark, and Luke. You know what I mean? These other books that a lot of people did like some of y'all liked Whataburger and stuff like that. That's like Tobit. You know what I mean? That's like Maccabees. Some people like it, but we can't fit it. Then there was others that said Culver's, and I was like, that's like Enoch. Some people know about that, but like one or two. I'm pretty sure everybody's eaten there once or twice, but it just doesn't fit. And it was just a good segue into the lesson. And I'm telling you, I love dealing with the youth because it's so fun. As I was telling Pastor, for everything else, I really have to study for. Whenever I prep for a sermon, oh man, did I talk about my sermon? That was something else. I might have to wait till another time. But when I prep for a sermon, it takes a while. I got to study, I got to write, I got to investigate, I got to do all kinds of stuff. Whenever I prep for a class, I got to study, write, investigate, all that. So it takes forever. The easy part is going up there and finally just saying it and I can be done with it. The great thing about youth is they're youth. I'm a PhD student, you know what I mean? So I don't have to do a whole lot of prep work for them. I already know everything that I'm going to teach them, so I can just go in there, teach them, and have fun with it. And it's the best thing. I love it. I look forward to it every week. Because of that, I went into class, I had a meeting with Pastor this morning. And I don't know who watches this, so I don't know if I can say a lot about a lot, but good things are on the horizon. Good things are on the horizon. And, I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for it. And then what else? We're already 22 minutes in. What else? Work. Let's talk about work. Good things at work. Good things at work. I was told. Well, let me start with the beginning of it. So we have this student volunteer that helps us out at work from time to time. And when the student volunteer comes in, she's a real talker, right? So we talk about Bible stuff. That's like the best thing about working or being in a Bible college or whatever is you can just talk to people and that's all they want to talk about. I love it because I just always want to talk Bible and theology and stuff. So even before I worked there, I would always try to talk to my professors, but I always felt like they were busy. Little did I know, while they are busy, they like talking about that stuff too. I know she felt the same way. When she came in, she was like, I'm so grateful that you like to have these talks. I always thought that y'all didn't like to do that because this is all y'all do. No, we love it. So we always have these theological conversations. And one of which was about the Trinity. She was telling me that a family member of hers is oneness and she's Trinity and they go back and forth and blah, blah, blah. But we started getting into the persons of the Trinity. How would you describe the Trinity? And we were showing, me and a coworker were showing her that all analogies eventually break down. So if you're one of those that are like, oh, it's the Trinity is like an egg with the shell and the yolk and I don't even know how to say it, the shell and the yolk and the egg and I don't know. Another one is like the Trinity is like water. It could be ice, it could be liquid form, it could be vapor. The Trinity is like the sun with the sun and the light and the heat. All these things, they all eventually break down and become a heresy of some sort. So we were talking about that and we were talking about heresies and how everything could be heresy and the word heresy was thrown out a lot. That's why I bring that up because later on I'm in my office and I'm doing work and one of my professors comes in and he a co-worker professor and he says, so are you ready? And I'm like, ready for what? He was like, look, you're not going to teach heresy, are you? You're not going to teach heresy. Being that he said heresy, I linked it to the conversations we were having with that student worker, heresy, and they combine. And I was like, you weren't here for that. What do you mean teach heresy? He was like, no, I'm just joking with you. I know you won't, but we're putting you on the schedule for spring to teach introduction to church history. I just want to make sure you're not teaching any heresy. And I was like, oh, yeah, no, right over my head. I didn't understand what you were saying. What? What? Thank you. So yeah, man, your boy's on the schedule for spring to teach Introduction to Church History, and thankfully, there's not much heresy I can teach because no one cares about my opinion. They just want to know what happened in history, and I am so happy to do that. That's why I'm a PhD student in church history, because I don't want to tell you what I think. I just want to tell you what happened. Good thing already. I have a box right here. Hold up, let me show you. I got my first. Whoa. One of the best things about being a professor is you get exam copies, free books that these publishers send you in the hopes that you'll adopt that book as textbook and you'll cause 20 other people to buy it. While they give it to you for free, they'll have 20 other people buy it. So they sent me books like Introduction or Church History in Plain Language and some other stuff. I still got some more books that are on the way, and it's just awesome because I love books. Again, I love free books even more. So getting all these church history books, getting them together. And again, after my seminars finish, I got to start prepping for the class because I have some ideas of how I want to structure it, how I want to do it. And yeah, I'm just excited. You know what I mean? I'm excited for this. I get to teach again. I had a long break between my last class and this one. So I'm hoping this becomes the norm. I'm hoping I am going to be as involved as I am now, maybe in a more official capacity at the church as a pastor, also as a professor at the school, also doing well as a PhD student. That's the trifecta for me, right? Pastor, professor, and forever student. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to be. And it looks like that's what's shaping up for me. It's dork. But yeah, so yeah, I don't want to make this too long. Again, this is going to be a different way of doing it. Like, I'll just say it. I'm doing it on my phone. I'm recording it on my phone. So I'm just going to maybe add a couple of images of things I wanted to show. The screenshot with Dr. Barrett. Maybe my perspective. So if you want, you can pause it and read it with my face like this. That's going to be the pause screen when I put the prospectus. And also the schedule. I want to show you how I'm on the schedule, man. Super excited. So other than that, yeah. I got a couple more weeks left. I have, what are my assignments left? I only got a couple of assignments left. I'm doing this I'm facilitating the seminar on Tuesday. So I got to write that 5-page paper. I got to do that. And for the Luther seminar, all I have to do is I think I got to write my paper. That's all I got. I finished my last critical book review. So I got this to facilitate the seminar on Tuesday, and then both of my big papers. That one of them's due on the 17th for the Trinity, and then the other is due November. I got to present one. I don't know. I got 2 papers. I got to look at my list and when they're actually due. But I'm pretty much done. I pretty much read almost everything that needs to be read. I counted. I think I read like 20 books for these 2 classes along with like 20-something articles. I'm going to count at the page numbers because I'm very curious to see how many pages I've read this semester. But there was a semester when I took 7 classes. I think I was an undergrad. Was I an undergrad? I think I was an undergrad. I took 7 classes, 22 hours. Yeah, 22 hours. It's undergrad. And I didn't have this many books to read. I was an undergrad, so it was usually about 1 book a class. As a master's student, it took maybe 3 or 4 semesters to read 20 books. 1 semester, 2 classes as a PhD student, easily read 20 books, 20-something plus articles. It takes a lot. It takes a lot to be a PhD student. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm loving it. And I am grateful to God for putting me in this position. So, yeah, thank y'all for joining me on this journey. I'm going to hopefully keep trying to do it like this. It depends. We'll see. Some things have to line up in order for this to happen. But yeah, hopefully we can keep going this way because by the looks on the preview, this looks good. I like it. So we'll see what happens. Until next time, guys. Shalom.